Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Oh man, I don't hear any kind of sounds today. One more time, good evening. Alright, I think crowd today is really good. But our apologies from our end, the food is really less. We are gonna make sure we have lots of food for you next time, alright? Okay, that's good. Okay, the promise, okay? We know. You guys come here for lots of food too, alright? Okay, so without further ado, thank you AWS for having us today at your venue. You know, it's beautiful. We have lots of snacks as well, alright? So it's our Cloud Native Kuala Lumpur event for the month of February. And also for this time, we have collaboration with females in tech. And you know what? Usually for tech events, you don't see lots of women or females, right? But this time, a round of applause for everyone for coming. Okay, so I'm Nasir, your host, together with Nick. Alright, there are a few members over here. You guys can just put up your hands if you need anything. Alright, let's go. House rules, keep chit-chat because there will be, presenters, make sure you talk at minimum, you don't want to disturb anyone. If you want to take anything, move over to the pantry, which will be on the left-hand side, my left. Food and waste, please do keep your, clean. Anything rubbish, please do throw it as your designated place, right? Agenda for today. First, we're going to have a really short talk from Elaine, alright, which is the founder of Females in Tech. Wait. Can you guys hear me clearly or it's breaking? Is it clear? It's okay. Test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, alright, it's good then. Okay, so talk number 1, which you guys will go through unlocking efficiency. There will be a lightning talk and hiring session. So if any of you guys have any kind of hiring, you guys want to look for jobs, you guys can do it over here. Alright, there will be a second talk too. And also, I know you guys are waiting for this, we'll have certifications giveaway for today. Alright, are you guys excited for it? Yes. No, I don't see it really well. Are you guys excited for it? Yes! Okay, alright. So just for guests, these certifications will be worth around $400 or more, depending on the certification. So make sure you have your, there'll be a few lucky winners for today, alright? And last, there'll be some certifications and Meetup scope giveaways. Alright, so a little bit about us, a very short one. We started in 2023. Okay, we have a few volunteers, and also we are open to many volunteers too as well. Fully run by ourselves, so we drive adoption on sustaining open source. So basically we rely on open source or we support open source. Anything which is open source, we have to play the role, right? And we believe that open source is the future. And before we get started, please do scan the QR codes for giveaway today. Alright.
Yeah, please scan it right now. So later on we're going to decide the winner out of it. So yeah, just go ahead.
Okay.
Just to let you know, it's an associate level certifications. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah, which costs around like $200 if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so I'll tell you guys how this goes. Yeah. So you guys scan the codes, and there will be a random ballot at the end of today's session, where we'll draw the lucky winners. Okay, are you guys clear? Any kind of questions? Okay, let's give it a few seconds for you guys to scan. Please make sure you guys follow the LinkedIn page, we'll check.
Just to let you all know that one slot is specifically for females in tech. So one certification will go to someone from the females in tech over here. Yeah.
Okay, anyone who did not scan yet? Are we clear to move forward? Okay, that's one. Okay, we'll wait. We'll give it a few more seconds. Okay, alright. Anyone else who didn't scan? Okay,
yeah,
that's
the
one
females,
more.
the females, make sure you scan, okay? There's a reason why you are here, so the females, make sure you scan. The probability is higher for getting a certificate. Well, FYI, the certificate is not free. You still have to take exam to get the cert, but you get.
It's free as in money free.
Yeah.
But you need to work for it, just like everything else.
Okay, we're clear? Alright, but don't worry, we'll keep the QR code so you guys can scan later on too as well. Alright, moving forward. So first and for all, I would like to invite Elaine from Females in Tech.
Okay, this is the time where you just hope like there's no technical issue, and let's see. Okay, hello everyone. So I'm Elaine, and today we're just gonna talk a little bit about females in tech, and then also show you and explain a little bit why we have this session, this collaboration with you, right? A little bit background about females in tech. So we are a community of about 5,000, growing to 6,000 now. Started off in 2010. 2021, and now we have about 5,000 to 6,000 community members across APAC regions. And of course, is it only for females? We are primarily for females, but we don't limit the events to only females. So, yeah, a little bit test. Okay, I'm just gonna show a little bit about a glimpse about what we do and how we empower females in the tech industry. And really, the reason why you are here is also really you want to thrive in the tech industry, right? And we do that through providing a lot of resources, a lot of upskilling opportunities and networking opportunities. So here's a little bit mission about the one-liner mission we try to have. Our mission is to promote inclusivity, visibility, and advocacy for females' participation and leadership in the tech industry. So something not so. So you might see some familiar faces here, right? So we empower through networking, and this is one of the networking events that we have in Microsoft. So it's under the Code Without Barriers program. So you can see, literally they are just mingling, they're learning new things in the events. And sometimes you learn through having networks, and you learn through networking events like this, right? So that's one. Okay, and then we also empower through community. So this is just taken last year where we have our Code Without Barriers Meetup, and all of these we have yoga sessions during the meetups, and also we have like the technical sessions talking about AI trends and what's expecting to come up in 2025, 2024, etc. So empowering through community and through summit. This is our flagship summit that we had 2 years ago. And we managed to have about 400 to 500 people. And by the way, that lady over there her name is Yilin. So she kind of organized this flagship event the other day, 2 years ago, and it was a very successful one. And we held it in Asian School of Business, and we had a great panel of panelists consisting people from Dr. Seppi from the UK to come and talk about AI trends here. Yeah. So really interesting stuff, empowering through Summit and through upskilling program. And some of you here have signed up for our Google Coursera. We partner with Google also to give free certifications on that you can obtain through a Coursera platform. So we also do empowering through upskilling. Sometimes we realize that the little things that you need is just that piece of certificate or that piece of tech skills that you need, and we just want to enable that portion of a little requirement for you to thrive in the tech industry, and that's what we do. And there's also not just upskilling in technical, and there's also soft skills, right? And I Am Remarkable is a workshop that we have with Google also. So we have that kind of events that give you the confidence to be yourself, to thrive in the tech world. And we don't just take, we also give back. So we also have mentorship programs that our community members can be mentors or can be mentees. You can see here we also partner with Talent Corp to have a mentorship program where there are C-suite level mentors to come and give us the mentor-mentee session. And as also part of our mission to grow the next generation, right? We also partner with like Sarawak and Sabah to give them our volunteers as mentors to the little kids. So we have, for example, we have Bernice here. Bernice is just represented us to go to Sarawak to be a judge for the event. So here is some pictures for you to see, and really good stuff. So some of the kids managed to compete in the international level, right? And one of the groups that we mentored last year, they won a creative award, and it's bring Malaysia the glory. And empowering through leading. Again, we also empower after we give you, right? And we also expect you to continue to lead. So that's also opportunity that we provide to people to start to speak and to start to lead your own team in companies, etc. And it's very. So this is also organized by our community members to give a data science workshop for kids. Who would have known, right? You can conduct data science for kids. But we did, and they enjoyed it. So you can see that they are drawing some linear regression lines, and that's how you learn the first step of modeling. And so, yes. Yeah, they're trying to find the gradient, the M. Okay, we're just gonna skip that part. So yeah, I'll also skip this. Now, I would like to just wrap all the empowering through XXX in one slider here. So this year we found the need to focus our attention in a few streams when it comes to upskilling and empowering. And these three are the few streams that you can expect. One is technical skills. So all the events that we host, they most likely fall into one of these categories, or can be both. So technical skills, upskilling the community through technical sessions and providing relevant resources to advance in tech. It's also why we had this collaboration, because this collaboration is with Cloud Native Kuala Lumpur, which you can already imagine it's a very technical session, and most of the time, actually it's funny because they came to us saying that, hey, our events, we literally have no girls or very few girls. And today I asked them the question, did we improve? What do you think of the statistics today? And what do you think?
Oh, it's brilliant actually over here today. It's the first time I think we have seen more women compared to men. Yeah, so thank you all for coming in here. In the near future. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not great number, but it's an improvement. And this is what we do in Females in Tech. We want people to grow in the technical skill. Of course, to be in the tech field, you need to start a little bit more technical. But after that, as you progress upwards, we also provide you the resources for leadership, mentorship, and soft skills. And the last one, I found this last year, then I want to bring this to this year. So one of the stream is entrepreneurship. And this is also in line with a lot of our initiatives in Malaysia, that if you're in tech and if you can create something, you can be in this category. Because you will have the government support for fundings, for a lot of opportunities basically. So we want to provide that for the females, and not just females, males also, you're welcome. And so coming back to, no. I think that's when that's technical. Okay. And coming back to, one last minute over here. Or is it not showing? Okay. So today, the title, I don't know whether it's supposed to be a clickbait or whatnot, but it's Mastering Cloud and AI. And it's literally one of the favorite topic of 2025. And why so? It's last year we have a lot of like buzzwords around AI, maybe the years before, but what we know is going to come up and fast and it's going to grow is the integration of AI into our lifestyle, into our work. So it's just going to grow and grow. But we sense that there's an you have to learn cloud to be able to scale, and companies also need to adopt cloud to be able to scale their services fast enough to meet the demand that we have for our integration of AI into our lifestyles, right? So these are just like a few pieces of articles that were talking about how they increase their adoption increase their investments in data center markets or data center investment and infrastructure by literally every country is growing their cloud computing resources. So today's session is really, we want to focus that part and we want to bring this for you guys, right? And that's why kudos to all the girls who show up, even though you may not find the session relevant and directly relevant to you, but it will be relevant some way or another in the future. So with that, without further ado, I think we'll invite our next speaker. We'll go straight into the technical sessions right now. And I'd like to introduce you you guys to, I would like to introduce Yifei to you guys. You can come up here, Yifei. So Yifei is a head of course, Yifei is female. Is a female that we are very proud to have. So Yifei is a head of solutions engineering from DataCher. She will be the best one to tell you all about the session that she will cover. But that's already round of applause, right?
Yeah. Thanks everyone. Yeah, glad to be here. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I'm Yifei, so I'm actually based in Singapore, and I'm actually back here at AWS because previously I was AWS Solutions Architect. So today I'll talk a little bit about Vision AI. So in AI specifics, but don't worry, I think like for the leveling wise, it's catered to beginner as well if you haven't worked much on Vision AI. So before I start, I just want to have a quick check, like how many are expecting LLM today when you saw like cloud native and AI? Oh, not too bad. Okay, quite a bit, but not all, not everyone. So today, unfortunately, like it's a sad case to these people. Like I'm not going to touch on LLM, even though I know it's a trend. But I'll just cover a bit on what we are actually having now in Vision AI, which means that we deal everything with image, videos, and what are the actual applications out there actually that we actually help with our customers deploying in industry level. So, so a quick overview of what DataCher does. Of course, I have spoken a lot of times about Vision AI by now. So it's actually focusing on MLOps, even though we are talking about Vision AI specifically. And MLOps for Vision AI has slight difference with a lot of focuses that does around data preparations actually. So we aim to simplify the entire flow. That means from data preparation, when you are talking about labeling, when you are talking about pre-processing the data, and then to model training. And the model training piece is actually very specific to Vision AI's models and how you can configure the training configurations and then proceed to getting the models either pruned or quantized to make it suitable for edge deployments. Because a lot of the Vision AI is actually applied on the field. Imagine like cameras and you want to have live feed and then detect something. And then proceed on with that, we also have like cloud hosting. And of course our customer, like a lot of them, they choose to deploy on AWS or the other competitors. So a little bit on what are the successful use cases for today. is actually, you can see here, it spans around a lot of different industries. So overview, you can see like the most common one that we always heard about, like object counting, or like people counting. But actually there are more to that. Especially big one that's for today is on healthcare. So medical imaging, so it's actually quite advanced to a level where a lot of research that's done on lesion detection, tumor detection to help doctors and researchers, medical researchers. And they have an entire different suite of annotations and processing that's done by that. And also a lot on monitoring specific, and not just people counting. We can actually go to the level where we identify people are starting to fight, or there are workers on the construction sites that can analyze for to help the construction company, or even manufacturing is a big one. There are defect detections, crack detections, and manufacturing that we can automate. That means auto sorting and things like that. But a little bit more specific into some of the industry case, like for example, food and packaging. So other than automating the sorting, but we can also make it optimized such that, for example, pizza. I hope everyone has had your dinner, but like, let's say pizza, we want to identify some of the SOPs to standardize the QA, and also like the grading process so that I can sort the product. And a lot on construction piece is that not just on counting, but also on, let's say, identifying the worker safety. So let's say helmets and a lot of the detections that's on the construction sites as well. Let's say property inspection. Our customers also use it to identify if the structure between it are actually of certain like quality, and also the distance that is safe. So that is actually applied to many of the construction's workspace. And agriculture is a big one. A lot on in some of the Asian countries, and also Europe and US as well. So we are talking about large-scale agriculture. So for example, recent customers that I spoke to, they actually deploy a media Jackson device that in their robots, and the robots go out there and to do the auto weeding. So and also there are some cases where they identify the crop grading. That means a lot of the disease, and also like the quality of the farm products. So, and also of course for animals as well. So the animals livestock. So, and even for home kit base. So an interesting use case that's for our long-term US customer is that they actually build an app for AI assistants that you can buy the home kit plant system, and then you plant it, and every day you will find that's for the insights that's arriving in your inbox, so that to help you to grow your plants. And that's actually one of the use cases on the batch inferencing that I'm going to show you a little bit later today. And retail, like a lot on the footfall analysis, we go to the mall and analyze it, and some of our customers actually use it in the retail mall that's for to manage their inventory management, and also an interesting use case that they can identify based on brands, and then they do the smart placement of the products. So all these things are actually like on the use case, but actually what becomes about it that a lot of the customers that reach us and find that this is valuable is on the amount of time that they set in setting up all this pipeline. So just now you are seeing all in the end result form, but throughout the process a lot has happened. From data preparation to get the images, videos, pre-processing, and there's a lot that you have to set up in between. Maybe some of you are using SageMaker, for example, or training your model or things like that. But this can actually goes into hand in hand, because maybe you need a more advanced pre-preparation for the data, and then you can feed back to the AWS bucket and then run more trainings for your vision task. And then after that, you get the model and can host it in the selections of choice of the service that you want. And of course, integrating to IoT systems sometimes. And the things that what we envisioned just now is the ideal flow. But in real case, what happens? So I train the model, I deploy an inference stack, and the model works fine, high accuracy, I think like 99.9%. But how about, let's say, if I identify the road condition and it started to snow. It doesn't happen here, but it happens a lot. Let's say potholes, or raining, or even like the different lightings. So all these changes from time to time. We don't just train for one time. And then imagine you have to just feed in new data again, start the entire process, set up your training workflow, and deploy back to your stack. So it's going to take out a lot of effort. And this is one real example of factory. So they just changed the lighting to like maybe newer lighting, brighter ones, and the whole thing just doesn't work anymore. So they have to figure out what's happening, and to retrain the model, and find out new images and pour in, and going through the whole process again. And then the trained neural network, once it's not done, we have to shift and to shift the mindsets to get it simpler. So this is a good talk that's online, that's by Dr. Andrew Ng. So he talks about in the past, a lot of these AI trained model, not just for vision use case, it's very focused on model centric. That means we just keep optimizing the code, but actually in real case, data is the king. So it's like what we eat into our body. So rubbish in, rubbish out. So a lot of all these actually helps if, let's say, you make it fast, and for the iterations for AI engineers to improve the model, to renew the model, or even with the new use case that's coming up, to catch the trend in the industry. So that's why the MLOps part comes in. And then this goes back to the entire ML deployment process. Once we have the first part on, getting data trained and simplify the process of getting our model, the deployment is another big thing. So we are talking about once we have like many different versions of new model, and that change, let's say, every week or every month. And we are talking about also number of use cases that the teams get to experiment. And all this actually happens in not just a small team where they don't have resources, but also enterprises as well. So they don't have the AI engineers to manage the infrastructure stack. And then, so that's why with the loop that I was talking about, we actually look at the end-to-end. That means from the start, getting the data, get the data right, train the model, and with the model, especially in the industry that happens, that renews right now like so fast, new models keep coming up. So how are you going to get all these trends and get the model that's from open source, download, and then host it somewhere for your training? So with this, that's why with the platform that we are offering to the customers as well. And in terms for annotations, so a lot of customers that when they reach out to me, they are asking about the labeling. They are talking about labeling boxes, labeling maybe masks, like the exact area. But actually a lot of these tools right now has evolved over the years. You can see here some of the recorded videos that's how easy it is. So we actually use AI on AI case. The tool itself is actually embedded with, let's say, SAM 2.0, if some of you heard about it, or some of our inbuilt model that's empowering our annotation tool. We actually have a canvas, and with the annotation tool, that you just click, and they will be able to identify the exact area. So this is very big on segmentation vision use case. And then you can see like all these graphs or things. So the scale that we are talking with customers, sometimes it gets up to 10,000 images or videos and frames, each of the frames that they have to annotate. So all this actually aims to speed up the entire process. And this is the example video that I was talking about. We even simplify it further by, let's say when we are talking about video, we actually talk about frame per second. And sometimes one video, when we talk about maybe 1 minute, it can go up to thousands of video frames. So imagine I have to click one by one and annotate 1,000 times, but it doesn't happen this way anymore. You just click one frame and the next frame, and we actually interpolate the same object that happens in between. So that's the AI or the magic part of it, that we just keep it faster and faster and optimize it to save the time. And so comes to the batch jobs use case. So a lot for the vision models that we have trained and deployed, especially in the factories or on the field, is on the edge. So for real-time inferencing, but it's also a lot on the batch job process. And when they choose to use the batch job, actually they might have 100,000 of images to process it within hours. Because we are talking about MBs of, like each of it with MBs of image, and then the model itself is also super large. So a lot of the engineers, they actually have to stay up and make sure that no errors and pray for no errors to happen. Or the compute or the GPU resources that they need actually is be there. And for example, the agriculture case that I was talking about, the customer itself, he actually has like 5 models. And each of the model, he runs through like 100 to 200,000 images each day. So it has to stay up to like 6 or 7 hours per night, every single day, to get the fresh data from his applications. And imagine you deploy that on like EC2 instance. So that would be the management that you are going to talk about, right? And how it works is such that the customer is actually on AWS. And he stores the images on S3 in S3, and then he just sends a list of the data set, and then send it and choose the model that he wants. And we manage the deployment for batch, and then all the results that stored, and we send it back to him as a preset URL and store it back to S3. So how it works is actually like this. So this is a Streamlit app that shows. I have to record it because batch job actually runs a long time. So you can see here how that is on the S3 bucket, and then I select the model that I want, and I upload the local images, or in this case it can be your S3, and it just auto-create all these lists of maybe 1,000 images or 2,000 images, and it started the batch job for me. So this is the platform, how it goes. It registers the data set, and then with the webhook that goes back to Lambda, and with the scheduled job that runs the compute process, and fast forward to the end, then the job completes. So it seems very simple from the demo, but let's say this actually runs, and in hindsight, if let's say it doesn't walk through the automated process, what he actually needs to do is each day he download and pull down the model, and then he has to set up the hosting, and runs through and send back the result one by one through API call, and then gets the result, post-process it, and then after it's done, he has to check through each of the results to make sure everything is alright, the result doesn't screw up, and turn on the instance or anything that's been running because it's costing him GPU. And a lot of times he can't get the GPU resource. So a lot of all these challenges that comes in, and with the batch job scale process, then that's made possible. And then he can finally sleep at night. So that's literally what he told me. And in terms for the sample wise of what actually I myself actually tested it out to deploy is with videos. So I was thinking what I could do further. Imagine not just images, but a lot of the real exciting case is actually on video. Imagine I have a live streaming or things that I want to post-process and analyze the football match that I want, or even some of the gaming analytics. So it's a big one that actually with such a use case. So what I did is, actually I write a stack that deploy it with step functions orchestrations, and I input the video. And how I can scale it for the batch inferencing job is that I cut it off into multiple chunks because I want to run it in parallel. So imagine I have a 1 hour video. If I just run in one job, it has to go second by second, right? And if I run it in chunks, these can shorten by, let's say if I run it by 5 chunks, then it will be shortened by 5 times. And then all these things, it will create like via AWS batch, and it will create multiple jobs. And then in each of the chunks, video chunks, of course I have to get the schema and understand like what's the minutes or seconds that I actually deployed it. And each of the tracking job, I will then run the analysis. So this simple case is actually by YOLO. Some of you who might have not heard of it, it's actually famous for object detection. And for example, the football match, I want to track it with ByteTrack. So ByteTrack is for tracking. So with this, actually I run through 2 models at the same time for each job. After I detect this player, and then I send it for tracking. and within which I also run a lot of processing that I can with Lambda, because after that I can then identify where the position of the players are, or what even like in terms for behaviors if I want. So all this after it's done, it gets back, and then I send it to the next step in my set function, and further annotate it back, and then I get the final result. So with the result of it, actually it can just shorten by so much, because otherwise people just run through hours of videos and then just wait for it to finish. So this is an example of how we can get it for the scale batch jobs, and then shorten and give it more optimized time for you. And I think today, a lot of you might have been quite beginner in terms of Vision AI. So if you are interested to learn about it, or even if you are like expert for Vision AI, that's all the more that I want to discuss with you. So any use case, even if it's for your personal project, you want to just build something simple or advanced case where you want to run with video analysis, you can just scan the QR code, and we actually have a free offering for your free plan that I can cater for you. I can set up some of the free resources as well, then we can go through it. So the entire process that I went through just now is a bit too much for this session, but in details we can actually walk through how it's going to be like. Yeah, so I think that's all that I want to talk about it today. Any questions so far?
Okay, round of applause. Right, so everyone scan the QR code?
Okay, no.
Let's give
No
it.
question means did I lose everyone? Yeah.
Which model do we use for vision?
Oh, we actually offer quite a big range of depending on the use case. So for example, object detection, YOLO that I showed just now, and a big one on let's say segmentation, the mask. We do have like deep lab, or if you heard about mask RCNN. So all these industry level cases is offered on the platform. And just a quick show. Probably I can show you how it's going to look like as well. Do I still have? I think I should still have time. So this is the example that I was showing just now in terms of the annotator. But let me show you some sample. So in terms for, this is the case for agriculture of course. These are the models that we actually offer based on the cases. So like to your question, object detection, then we do offer like all these, mask RCNN is quite a famous one for instance segmentation. And YOLO V8, V9, V11, all these are supported. And when we talk about vision use case, actually a lot of those are very, very specific to the types. So classification model, if you just want to identify, like classify my product, it's going to be different models that we support. And then when we talk about object detection, another different ones. And even we talk about medical 3D imaging that I mentioned just now, that's totally another whole new world. So yeah.
You have a lot of customer, new customer.
Yeah.
How many picture or how many data you need to train the model to software?
Good question. So we always recommend like at least 100 images, 100 data, 100 images to start with. But for my cases, for a lot of my cases, like I usually work with customers or users, so we'll just test run very quickly. Actually, within below 50, it will give you a good idea. So that's why with the platform itself, it's also meant to be like that. That means how quickly I can start with small set of images. So for example, you can see here, it's actually only 24. But I do have a lot more annotations that I can do, because you can just now a lot of example here. There are many letters in each image. So it depends on the type of data that we are looking at. And for this one, you can see like only like 24. And I annotate a lot more. You can see like many letters that I'm doing here. And once I have the workflow, if I want to know how it works, I can just annotate maybe 25, 30, and I can start training quickly. And because it makes it easy for me to start with. Let's say some of the default ones and that I can build with if I'm a beginner. So I myself also start with learning all these things when I join the company. So I actually find it very helpful myself as a user of the platform. And I can select this, let's say the case that I want, and small or large model. And then what I want, that means I want fastest performance or balanced performance. And it doesn't stop here. So you can say like, okay, I'm an expert in ML already. I want to do everything on my own. So I can just configure from here. Or I can build my own workflow or anything that you want. So, and we even offer, let's say I don't have a lot of data. Some of my customers tell me like, how about like we start from scratch, we don't have many data. So all these augmentations actually helps because like what I shared just now, when you train a model, the lightings could be different, the crops, actually angle could be different, like contrast of image could be different. So all these things actually helps with all these augmenting of data, and then you just feed it in training for you. Yeah, and you can start the training, it takes like what, 20 minutes? And then if it doesn't work, so I add in more data or I just review again. Yeah, so that is the idea of how we close the loop and simplify it. Yeah. Any other question? Okay.
Just curious.
Just curious, you mentioned Android, so maybe you have heard of Landing AI as well, which I see is doing very similar things. So,
Yeah.
do you have any, compared to Datature, comparing between Datature and Landing AI, are there any advantages of using Datature?
Okay, that's a good question. I always get that. So I usually try to avoid like comparing feature by feature. But what we really focus in is actually a lot of the things that we work with customer is on the industry applications. That means we offer the flexibility. A lot of the platforms out there, maybe after I train a model, I have to host it on a platform or I have to pay extra or things like that. So one thing that we offer is, for example, if today I want to choose to run using my AWS resource, I can do so actually. I just use the annual data, I have my image back, and then I can run what we offer as a runner. I can set up EC2 instance and select the GPU type on AWS, and then I can use that in my training. So this is one example that we different from some of the offerings out there. There's definitely a lot of similar tools for Vision AI, but one of it is the selections. I mean, many are talking about offering of GPU types, but our offering comes in module. So some of our customers, they use it only for annotation and the collaboration feature, but some of the customers, they use it for collaboration and training, and some even don't use it for training. I want to run the custom runner, I can use my EC2 or like my AWS credit for it. And also talking about deployment. So after the training is done, a lot of the times, because we are talking about end-to-end MLOps, of course we have to deploy, to offer like what we call deployments. Getting the artifacts up or like the train model up, and we just give you an endpoint, similar to if you host it on SageMaker. But you can also export it and download your model, run it on EC2 instance or SageMaker or anywhere you like, or even NVIDIA Jetson like GPU. So that is by the format that we are offering as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
just to be clear, you also offer on-prem deployment, right?
Yes.
So we can, I assume, download the models and then we set up all the software to run ourselves on-prem.
Yeah.
Or do you also have some SDK that we can also run locally?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So SDK, yes, definitely. And we are talking about even like CI/CD that you can integrate back to your existing environment. So just now the video that I recorded just now, I was actually building it with SDK, our SDK. And even though it's a Streamlit app, it's like pretty standard like web application, but it's via our SDK offering. And we are also going to work on a lot on like our target on the product itself is also on management of the on-prem, the on-edge device. So some of our customers, if they are talking about, I don't want to manage even the SDK part of it, I just want to register my device. Maybe I have 10 robots out there in the field. If I want to update, I want to have a dashboard to see like what are the status and so on. So those are actually going to happen. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll take one last question from members of the floor. Alright.
Hi.
Yeah.
So actually, this is not something very related to computer vision. It's more related towards the natural language processing. So back in 2022, when I was working for Pfizer as a data science engineer, so we do encounter a situation where we have to capture the electronic medical records using natural language processing. We did use the Spacey and Karn as a model development, and we deployed. But like, can you give some insights, like what's the best way we can try to develop a model where most cases what we have seen, even like running the models, we were not getting as expected result, but at the same time, rather than using that model, we also try to do the data validation using the same electronic medical records. So just wanted to get, like, is your product capable of those things in that case?
So if I understand your question correctly, you are saying about how I can like in terms for the model that we train, and we are able to identify, let's say, the lower confidence score on the result and to improve it, is it? Or
It's more on side of a data entry side. Let's say now I'm also working as a data science engineer,
Yeah.
but as a solution architect in FWD Insurance. So here as well we have a problem. I'm working closely with Singapore office. So what we are trying to develop now, like let's say the agent is having any kind of a PDF kind of a form, and we wanted to capture all those data, and directly rather than using a data entry people, we try to capture this data in a database. So in that case as well, the performance score is not above 90. So we do understand that there is a chances of data credibility we have to deal with, and we cannot rely on completely this natural language processing model, right? So we do need to go on a data validation part. So that's the reason I wanted to ask, is your product capable on natural language processing?
I see. Natural language processing itself, right now, let's say to read the records, OCR most commonly, that we do have cases where customer actually train a model to read OCR, but because of how we work together with customer, the short answer is we don't really use OCR specifically to train a vision model for that, because it's not effective in a sense. So we work together with customers. So one example I give you is that the recent project that we have is they identify the like some circuit breaker, but with those they are actually labeling that we want to identify that with OCR and identify further to process it together. But the OCR part, we are using managed OCR service. Like let's say AWS have other cloud platform sets as well, and then we combine those with the vision model to identify the breaker. So all these actually, you can see like the whole application itself is actually step by step. So I identify what are the breaker, and from there I identify what are the model, and the model is from OCR text abstraction. And to your question specifically, because you are talking about language itself, like the text, so it doesn't really like suggest, I mean the common ones that we have in terms of vision model. But similarly for vision model, we do face the issue as well. Let's say I train a model, maybe the confidence score is not high. How are you going to do the validation? So there's this thing called what we have as active learning. So for example, when I run the model, how I'm going to improve it over time is only when I run the inferencing, right? So I get the result. So in this, if I set up active learning, that is what we call the active learning loop. That is the whole loop that we are talking about here. That means from the inferencing, if you call the endpoint, I get the result. Those, I can identify the threshold here that I set. Those that are low confidence score, I can send it back to the platform as a group that you can specify here. And throughout the process, I can then validate the data. And let's say I have the data annotator labeler that can review, or the AI scientist that will review. Then you'll go back to this group of data and identify why are those low confidence. So same thing applies to natural language processing. I think the active learning is not just on either vision or OCR or like language per se, but you can actually set up that loop. And how you're going to set up is, I think like it depends on your tools that you use as well. For example, in our case, yes, we do offer this, But if you want to deploy it on your own environment, then it's via our SDK, for example. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, but like, let's say when you're saying about the active learning, is it like kind of a reinforcement, like you try to run those data, right?
Yeah.
When you say that.
Yeah.
So in that case, do you think it really is a wise option? Because it also leads you to a lot more cluster cost, right? So a lot more compute cost when you try to run a lot more data, right, in a cycle loop.
I see.
Yes. So do you think that rather than using the same compute for churning the same data in a cycle, it's better to have someone who can manually try to validate the data? I mean, as a business perspective, if you try to see like which is the right option, rather than having a people or someone who is doing data entry to validate your data, or it's like you try to run your complete life cycle of deployment.
Yeah.
And that will also cost a lot, right, in terms of compute cost actually.
Yeah, I think. Okay. Yeah, I'll discuss with you on that. But I think that's a different case, different phases that we can talk about.
Yes,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you so much.
So today we got a product, yes, an open source. It's called kubefs. It's a recent graduate in the cloud native ecosystem, written in Golang, of course. And you can go into kubefs.io. Again, it's an open source distributed storage, which serves on your data center file system or data lake. So basically now it can act as a data lake now within your infrastructure, private or hybrid cloud. It can run in a public cloud because actually the main feature is the caching acceleration and file system semantics on top of public clouds, such as S3. I assume everyone is aware of S3 over here. And then in particular, it has something called enabling of separation on the storage architecture. So basically now you can divide your databases, service systems like Elasticsearch and whatnot, and your AI/ML-based applications. So it's basically segregation now within the database on top of kubefs, below kubefs, I mean. Yeah. And how many of you are using Hadoop the Hadoop infrastructure over here? Anyone? Hadoop? One hand. Okay, interesting. So if you're working with big data, of course Hadoop infrastructure is like very common in that area, unless if you're using third party, some of the services. So HDFS, it's actually quite hard to handle the Hadoop infrastructure. It itself is very complicated. So in order to get over the HDFS file system, now you can replace it with kubefs. kubefs has the capabilities, basically just it can connect with the connectors of the HDFS basically, so that's why it's easy to replace without affecting your business, yes. And furthermore, there are some access protocols available, such as like POSIX base. When I say HDFS, it means that you can replace with HDFS without changing HDFS completely itself. So if you have like Spark, which are connected, all the infrastructure Hadoop is connected, you can remove the HDFS and replace it with kubefs. And as this is a graduated project, so it will be much easier for you to integrate because it has been tested already and it's being used constantly. Version 3 is already out there. And of course it has its own API, a REST API, to communicate also. Moving forward. Yeah. Some of the key features, again. But before I dive into the key features, basically it was supposed to be only for containers. It is actually for containers still, but now they expanded it. As you know, we are adopting cloud. So they make sure now you can deploy completely in your Kubernetes environment within your clusters, which provides you consistency, availability, the CAP theorem basically. So some of the key features are multi-tenancy. Yes, as I said, there's a segregation of the database. Then we have, it can serve a large amount of clients, and I will show you why, because it's a high-performance file system actually, which we'll look into it. It has some optimization available. for both large and small files. Converged file system, when I say converged, because it's a proxy actually. So you're basically going through that one particular place and then accessing whatever is available within your file system. It's a multi-layer storage, so and it provides you multiple kind of protocols. Again, high scale of metadata. So basically, the metadata is actually separated completely. So you will have a complete different service running for the file system as a metadata service. Then performance optimization for large and small file, depending on type. Now you can also define how do you want to store your file, sequentially or randomly. I don't know how many of you are aware of like Raft or Paxos, some of the common distributed algorithms. So we will look into it also. Looking forward, of course, hybrid cloud, I/O acceleration. I mean, these are, I think, also available in other file systems. Flexible storage policies and replication. And we will see why replication is one of the most important things over here, because it's on the caching layer. Yeah. So the only feature which I will be showing over here is the performance, and that's the key feature of kubefs. And why is it so important, and how is it evolving in the cloud-native environment? Yeah, over here. So if you look over here, it supports multi-level caching. That's the main feature of the kubefs, which optimize all the small files access and support multiple high-performance replication protocol. Just a moment, yeah. So there are three main components behind the high performance over here, which is the metadata management, a strong consistency, and multi-level caching. Now, metadata management is using data structure called B trees. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of B trees, which allows you to index your trees properly. Yeah, allowing you to access them on O-login. That's the time complexity for B tree, if you know it, I don't know. Yeah, so that's what makes metadata management a bit faster over here. So you will have a complete separate service for when you are deploying the kubefs. Strong consistency. So I don't know how many of you are aware of CAP theorem, and which is consistency, availability, and petitioning. So whenever you are deploying a distributed system, these two are the main components where you sacrifice one. Now, most of the time, big companies, they achieve something called eventual consistency. So we will look into a little bit what does that mean by eventual consistency over here? Is that, so there's a replication available. So that replication is basically eventual consistency, where there's a small time required to replicate the data. However, I mean, this is on the file system level, not on the database level. So it's acceptable. You can sacrifice it a little bit. And the strong consistency is it provides access on two major modes, which is the sequential mode and the random mode. Sequential mode is basically on top of another protocol called primary backup replication protocol. You might need to look into it a little bit yourself. So it allows you to sequentially, and it optimizes the input-output throughput. However, the randomly one, because actually the random one is the most important one, because your data is scattered within the file system randomly. In order to achieve that, they use something called multi-raft. In order to have consistency within your whole kubefs cluster. So, and what does multi-raft does? Multi-raft is allow you to have one leader, and then that leader will control all the other petitions. And even if that fails, it will choose another one for you, of course. Moving on to the last thing, which is called multi-level caching, which is actually the main feature, allowing your containers to be much more faster accessing the data. So we have, as you can see over here, that's the container over there, and then we got local cache. So basically that's the cache which is right on the container, and then below we have, of course, your main file system, which is the global cache, the whole in the data center. And last but not least is your easy storage, which is basically the storage itself. So what does the local cache is doing over here is, it's it's a component which can be delayed on the client machine, yeah, and allowing you to directly access the data without going through the network. So basically, when the data is being replicated, as I mentioned, there's a consistency. So the data has always been replicated over the local cache, and then your containers can access it, making it much way faster rather than any normal file system out there. Then looking at the global cache over here, global cache has, let's say, a replica component like data node. So a data node, let's say we have HD drive. Well, I don't think some people use HD drive apart from backup only. So SSDs, let's say. The global cache is deployed on SSD, which is SSD sitting on the EC, storage of course. So compared with the local cache over there, of course it have to go through the whole network, but in order to provide more extra storage and a much faster way, that this was the only way for a QFS to achieve it. Now this will allow you to achieve the data on the data center level. So your file system is going to spread out in the data center, and that will be your global storage basically. So this was makes it. So let's say if you want to access something which is not in your local cache, it will fetch it from there. So it's not going to be that fast, but yes, let's say eventually it's going to be that fast enough to, if you need it in real time. So that's it about the QFS. Those are the main features, and those are like the most important one. If you're interested to deploy within your data center or replace your HDFS file system or your big data, you can go to kubefs.io and look a little bit more into it. The project has been graduated already, version 3 is available. Yeah, so you are good to go. And that's all from my end. Yeah, any questions?
Is it only on SSD, or is the largest layer S3 and they are intelligently batching?
Oh, pardon, can you say?
Is the EC storage layer S3? And do they actually handle the intelligent batching of that, or is it all pure SSD? Because I trust S3 in terms of its durability, right?
Yeah, EC storage is usually used by, let's take it like a RAID.
Okay, so it's not S3, because you want to get it as fast as possible to S3.
Yes, exactly. Because it's basically your data center, the physical data center, not the logical one. So AC is going to be like a RAID, but it has eventual consistency, that's why. So, any more questions?
Okay, we'll take one last question.
Is it free?
Oh, wait.
Any company we use?
Hold on, yeah?
Hold on.
We have one.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for your presentation. Pardon my ignorance, so just want to try and oversimplify it to understand it a bit better. Is it correct enough if I try to imagine this as a self-host, your own, very own CDN network that is eventually consistent? Can I think of it that way?
Let's say, I would say that you can put it that way. I'm not going to say I'm not going to say CDN because again it's a file system, because it has to be on top of your EC, your whole cloud basically. Or it doesn't have to be cloud, it can be another public cloud or your own private cloud or your even home data center. So consider it like something like CDN, a caching place, because the caching is taking place in memory over here. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. It's all in memory actually, all key value pair, basically. So yes, you can say that, yes. However, I'm not going to put it that way because it's not, you're deploying only within your data center.
Okay, alright, let's take one last short question here.
Any example of the use case? Seems that this is quite advanced, the Scalable protocol. Any competitor products similar to these products? Competitor products?
You mean competitive products?
This is open source product. Any competitor product?
Competitor, okay.
And also, what's the use? Who is the big customer is using it? Seems it's very powerful system.
Yeah, actually recently got graduated, and I haven't checked who are people, but wait, I can check it right now. I'm not sure, actually. I think you can look up on their website because I'm not really sure about it, who was. But it just got graduated in Cloud Native, and I think in KubeCon London someone was talking about it also. Yeah, so you can look up at it yourself, which companies are using it. All right. So I think that's all. Thank you so much.
Without further ado, I would like to invite who's next for 6th grade, APISIX. So before that, one more thing, they flew all the way from Singapore to here just for this song. Come on guys, let's give it another round of applause.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming, and it's my first time to speak in CNCF Meetup. And thank you, Brent, for inviting us to speak here. And I'm Zhiyan. In APISIX community, I'm in charge of the community work. And this is Zheng. He donated, not donated, he contributed a lot of codes to APISIX. Thank you for coming. Okay, so for today's session, I didn't prepare the slide because I don't think I need that. For today's session, it's the hands-on Apache APISIX, so it's a technical demo. Before the demo, may I know who know about APISIX before? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Nobody else. Okay. So except for this one, so do you know API Gateway, not APISIX? Anybody know about that? Okay, more people. Okay. So like okay. So what's an API Gateway? API Gateway is a software running on the server. To make it simple for non-technical people, it's a software running on your server, and if you don't have if you don't use that, your clients need to send traffic to your server, your backend directly. But with that, you can grow your traffic. Okay, so except for APISIX, this is the landscape of Cloud Native CNCF. And except for APISIX, there have more, bigger, like APISIX and some other branding like Kong. They are very good at work. Yeah. So anybody know about other logos in the here? No? Okay. Yeah. So you know about that? Traffic, right? Yeah, traffic. Okay. Okay, so what's APISIX? APISIX is a Apache Foundation project created in 2019 by, we are the founding project initial author, and in 2019 we donated this project to the Apache Foundation, and now it has nearly, how many? Yeah, it has around 500 contributors. And running very fast. Why? Why we created this project? That's because in 2019, even though in the market there have some open source options, but they are not good enough for traffic, very large traffic. If you want to serve your clients well for a very large traffic company, you need many servers and very good architecture to handle traffic. It's challenging for them. And from this idea, we built APISIX. That's the initial reason. And after that, to grow the community, we choose to donate this project to a foundation. We have considered CNCF, but how to say, for individuals, it's not easy for us to donate a project to CNCF. So we choose Apache Foundation. And now I'm Apache member, one of the Apache member, and we start, if you check APISIX, the GitHub repo, you will find many replies and many communications between the contributor, the users, and us. Okay. And this is a shorten. It's a platform to scan all IP and the server information running API, running your software. And if I want to check how many people, how many instances are running APISIX, I can search this keyword. It's a little slow because it has a lot of data. Okay, I can see now it has so many results, much better than 2 years ago. And I can see the first country is China because this project was created in China. And the second one is US. Yeah. So if you use Shein, then Shein now all of its traffic are handled by APISIX. Yeah. Okay. And for the demo, we have this is a public website in API 7. You can visit that to follow to try the demo. And before the demo, I want to do some quick introduction to the concepts, basic concepts. Here are a few concepts. One is a route. So inside APISIX, like any other software, route is one of the entities on inside APISIX, and we use this resource to capture the request and to match the request. And next one is upstream. It's like a backend. It's an entity to describe the backend server. So your request will hit the APISIX gateway, the software, and software will forward your traffic to the upstream backend. The next one is a plugin. If you want to add more functionalities to on the gateway layer, you need different plugins, and we have many plugins. You can visit the plugin hub around AI, traffic management, and authentication, authorization. They are here. And last important concept is consumer. It's more like you can consider a consumer is a bot, or people, or a developer, or an application. We use this one to know who are calling our API services. Okay, so inside okay, so here is how to getting started. From here, first step is we are entering the demo phase. The first step is to download the APISIX gateway, and luckily we have Docker support. And here's my local Docker desktop, no containers running. And now we have one command, this one, we have this one to deploy APISIX locally very fast. One moment. I can run here. It's loading. Now it's running because I have downloaded this image before. Let's wait for a while and open the Postman. The Postman is to verify if I use Postman to verify if my container is running. This is etcd. We use this one like a database to store the configuration. And this is APISIX container, and it's listening on this port, 9080. Okay, let's send a request to it. Okay, so it returns 404. That means APISIX is running successfully. But if we try to access any endpoints, it will return for their fault because we don't, it's a fresh new gateway, no policies. So the next step, we need to configure loads. Before configuring loads, I want to introduce a service, HDB. It's a public, it's a service for public request and response. And before using APISIX to proxy this service HDB, we can access its points by HDB, and for example, the UID, it will return a random data. Let's try. Yeah, it will return a random UID value. I can see I'm accessing the HDB directly. So for APISIX, HDB is the service behind APISIX, so it's an upstream. Now let's using APISIX to proxy the request. Okay, go to here, and to configure APISIX, we have multiple options. One is we can use the admin API. It's an API we can use to create logs. And the second one is ABC. It's another CLI. You can run this. You can use it inside the CI/CD pipeline to publish your services, publish your policies. And the last one is ingress controller. We have the open source ingress controller. It's attractive for developers, but I know we were doing not good in this project. So let's keep ADC, copy the complete YAML file, and I have a project here. For example, adc.yaml or APISIX.yaml. Paste it here, and here is the complete configuration. So first, let me explain the YAML file. The first line we define is services. Services is a concept inside APISIX, and under the services, we have a service called HDB service, and it includes a routes /IP or /UID. Okay, one moment. /UUID, and okay, and the upstream is the service, is the server behind the gateway, behind APISIX. I'm using long bin, and I can define the nodes here. For now, I have only one node. If you add more, then when you request APISIX multiple times, it will distribute the traffic to the nodes. And next step, we need to run ADC sync APISIX YAML. After running this one, it will sync this file to the APISIX gateway. And now let's go to Postman again. If we access UID, it will return the value from HDB as well. It's a little okay. It's unsuccessful, but this error. It's unsuccessful. Let me try again. One moment. HTTP.org. I can use echo. One moment. Echo. Just a minute. Just a minute. One moment. Let me using this one. Because sometimes when I proxy HTTP, it will have something wrong. Okay. Let's sync again. Okay, it's running down, and let me try get. Yeah, it returns something from the another backend server. So we have successfully proxied the request from the client, the postman, and go through APISIX gateway, and then to the postman, to the backend server. This is for the first demo. There have a few other demos. For example, we can have multiple backend servers, like this is one, and this is second one. We can have multiple backend server and distribute traffic randomly. And for example, another scenario is key authentication. So for now, I can access the backend server directly without any credentials. But you can use the plugin to enable to follow this guide to add credentials to your developers. They have more demo, and you can find it on our documentation. Yeah. So for today's meeting, I will only show this one basic demo just to prove that we can do the proxy. And what we can do with APISIX. As you can see, just now before using using the API gateway, we can access the backend directly. But what if there have so many traffic to access your backend? Your backend may be down for some reason, and we need more backend instances for load balancing for each AE. So we can have the gateway before them, and that's the gateway to do the distribution instead. Okay, and so I can see here they have many options in the API gateway layer. But why consider APISIX? So Milo, so just now I see someone is using APISIX. Milo, why? Yeah, Brand. Yeah.
Just a moment.
Yeah, I just want to know why you use APISIX instead of other solutions.
Hi guys. So there's a bit of backstory to how we actually got in touch with APISIX. Our sister company actually built stock trading solutions for Southeast Asia. So latency was really important to us, and we actually evaluated quite a number of players. So we decided, at one point to use our own Nginx to enhance upon that, but we didn't want that. Then we explored WSO2, but I think it was Java-based, so it was kind of slow. And then we worked with Kong. Is there anyone working for Kong here? Anyone working for Kong here? No? Okay, if there is, no offense, but Kong was very supportive of us, but in our benchmarks, they were slow. Yeah, and the licensing fees were really high, really high. So it wasn't something that we could stomach. Then I came across a Medium article where one of APISIX colleagues wrote about some comparisons and some benchmarks, and I just got in touch. And when we did our benchmarks, lo and behold, compared WSO2, Kong, and APISIX, they were actually the fastest. And then I guess the rest is history. So we've been together for I think 2 years, and we've been running smooth, and pretty happy. So if you have any questions about how to use APISIX or any questions from the operational side, you can ask me as well. Pretty happy to answer. But yeah, this is not a paid thing. Yeah, just being really honest. So yeah, thanks.
All right, promotions. Okay.
Okay, so let's continue. Just now he mentioned Kong. Actually, I also asked many questions many times to APISIX community users and paid customers. Why you switch? There is one important reason, and you can do feedback to your team. That the main reason is one of the most important reasons. One is performance. I know Kong recently has done a lot of performance improvements. That's true. And the second reason is the premium plugin, premium functionality. Actually, in Kong, there has one plugin called OIDC, right? But it's a paid plugin. However, many plans, they choose Kong because of Kong offer this in their enterprise version. And that's why in 2019, when we did APISIX, we make this plugin open sourced to attract more developers. That's one strategy. Okay, so Okay, the demo is very basic, and for more information, you can just go to our documentation. Go to our documentation or ask question in GitHub issue or discussions. And by the way, we have some people they ask me how we make sure the project goes long. We are not like Com, we are just very small, and it's the project is mainly maintained by the contributors from different companies. That's a good signal. But how we maintain it long? Actually, behind the project, we set up our company called API7, and but it's very small anyway. It's a very small company, only 30 people. But the good news is that we are gaining more attention in the market compared to Com, APIG, TYK, and traffic. That's a good signal for us. Okay, so any questions? We can do some Q&A. Any questions?
Anyone has any questions? Okay, there's one.
So Kubernetes has the, I think, API gateway standard, right? So maybe you can share what is your roadmap or plan on, utilizing the API gateway standard. How far are you from that, and what's your plans?
Okay, so this question was asked many times in community, and what I can confirm is by the middle of this May, we will complete the refactor work for the ingress controller and release a new version. For this project, even though we have an open source ingress controller project and it has many issues, we all know this. We all know this case. And API7 or company, we decided to make it to speed up the development work and release it by the middle of May. And now we are starting our plans first to use that for verification. Yeah, that's the case. If you go to Apache, the organization GitHub, and import APISIX, actually there has many repos, 13 repos. And now, at least in the past 2 to 3 years, we focus on the APISIX project repo mainly. And as for this one, we heard a lot of voice from community, so we have started the refactor work and do the release, do verification with our plans. Yeah. Anyway, to summarize, we will release a new version soon. Yeah.
Okay. One question is, since you are not technical, give you a business spec. So is it you donate as a free to Apache, right?
Yeah.
So do you have a business model? If you have, how you make your money from this?
From this, right? Okay. I have to say, in the last 5 years, in our startup API7, it's very funny and it is very challenging as well. And we think how we do our commercial business based on this open source project. And now I confirm for API6, Apache API6, the gateway, the position of the API6 is an API gateway. It's an API gateway component. If you only need to use the gateway component, like to replace engines, to replace other gateway work, API6 is enough. However, if you need commercial support, this is one. And the second is, if you need a better dashboard to control the gateway, then that's API7 work. API7 is our commercial product. That's API7 work. And for the API6, we will focus on making it stable and reliable, and more developers to use that. And our strategy is bottom up because we how to say, we cannot reach out to the decision maker directly, so we want to have more developers to use that, to talk about it. And
the other question, so the version 6 is still open source,
yeah.
So the version 7 will be commercial, right?
Yeah.
So will it still be open source or just be the commercialized version? Version 7. You mean the version 7 is the commercialized version, right?
Yeah, API 7 is commercial level product, and API 7 also includes two parts like API 6. Go to API 6, and here has one architecture. API 6 includes a data plane, the gateway, and the control plane. The control plane is the etcd and some the admin API, a bundle of API to control that. Inside API 7, we also use the gateway API 6 using its source codes. But the control plane, the dashboard, is closed sourced.
What means that over from version 7, do you still like going to be open source? Maybe you're going to have a version 8, so they're going to be private one. Start from version 7. It's going to be private one by company, right? Start from version 7 and above.
You mean start from API 7?
Yes, and above. Is it open source or?
It's not a version. API 7 is the company name. It's both using the same source code for the database. It's just a company name.
Yeah. So actually, for today's meeting, I didn't want to do any pitch for API 7, only focused on API 6. Okay.
You can tell them why you call it API 6.
It's a good question. So 6 is a good number for Chinese, and so that's why we start from API 6. And why API 7? Because 7 is bigger than API and than 6. That's story.
So the API 7 is your company, so whatever feature they're using, your service is going to give API 7 to them. So they maybe a new dashboard, a new feature, or will be API 7.
Yeah, a good question. So what's the difference between API 6 and API 7? The first one is inside API 7. Okay, so first, both API 6 and API 7, their functionalities are driven by different plugins, right? If you want to enable a feature like rate limiting or authentication, you need to enable a plugin and give it some configuration as input. So API 7, because API 7 is built upon API 6, and so the plugins available in API 6 are also available in API 7. This is one. And second is, as I mentioned, if you need commercial support, that's API 7 to work. And third is, there have a few premium plugins. And we started from this strategy last year, the middle of last year. But before that, all plugins are open sourced. And we make sure we confirm most scenarios can be covered by open source product, API 6. This is third item. And last one is, we have some functionalities on control plane layer. For example, you use AWS, and you will have very fine controlled permission policies to limit who can do what on the platform, right? But if you go with API 6, you need to make sure by yourself. However, if you go with API 7, we make this built-in. You will have a panel for your administrator to do the policy design.
Yeah, my question is, because API 7 is your product, right?
Yeah.
It means any feature in your new product in API 6 don't have, so they have to go to you. So your API 7, your product, you're not going to be open source.
That depends. For example, I can give some example. For example, inside API 7, we can integration with like AWS Security Manager. And first, initially, API 6 doesn't have that, but we have some paid clients they need that. So we make it API 7 first and pick it up to API 6.
Let's say I buy API 7, can I get the source code?
by API 7.
Yeah, use your API 7. Can I have the source code for you?
API 7 source codes for all API 7.
API 7, yes, okay.
You can have the gateway source codes. The control plane, no.
API 7 is alright.
Yeah, yeah. But I confirm API 7, the gateway part is totally built upon API 6. So that's because we want to, like I mentioned, we are bottom up, and we want to convert our API 6 users, if they need support, if they need a better UI, they can convert to API 7. Yeah. So you can do migration between API 6 and API 7 freely. Yeah. Thank you. Any question? Technical, non-technical? No. Any more question?
Hello, it's me again. Just to add on just now, there was a question about API 6 and 7. I can only speak on behalf of my company. So when we did the benchmarks with Kong WSO2 and API 6, it was on the open source version, API 6, so even that, the performance was great. Did we find any difference in functionality between the paid and the free version? No. The reason why we go for the paid one is because, first of all, support. As a company, we need support. Sometimes, in all the situations that we've had issues, API 6 has just been the team to help us debug, but the issue has never been them, right? It's just been pointing at something else. So, being able to look at the access logs on API Gateway is really great for operations, so please do consider that. But yes, the support was why we decided to go for the paid version. Second was, from an operational point of view, having their control plane control all of our gateway groups across all the data centers we have just made it much more operationally safer. And that's why we ended up going for them. But from what I understand, if you go for API 7, API 6, there's no feature difference other than the operational convenience.
Yeah, indeed. And I know Maryland is also using API 6. Any question or?
The free version. Be careful, SCD. Painful operation.
More questions?
All right. Any more questions then?
If you also want to hear any story when we maintaining API 6 or API 7, you can also raise your hand. Any topics you want to hear.
So, just wondering, why specifically Apache Foundation that you donated, not directly CNCF or Linux Foundation?
You mean why we didn't choose CNCF initially?
Yeah.
Because if we want to donate a project to CNCF, I heard that we need much dollar. No, we don't have, and that's why we choose Apache Foundation. Yeah, and there has a very funny story that before we donated the API 6 to Apache Foundation, we tried to. There has one chance that the Apache Foundation board, one of their board member, come to an event and we meet together and we spent some minutes with him from the event, the conference building to the airports, and we talk about what's the reason to build API 6 and why we want to donate it to the Apache Foundation. And last day we have passed the votes and we joined in. Yeah. And in Malaysia, I know not only and Maryland they are using API 6, but also there are some other companies like the World Jinjin. They are using that much. I know. Yeah, just a reference. But it's still fresh, new in new regions, new marketplace. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So we'll take one last question for the member of the floor. Anyone would like to ask any last question? Okay, we're good. We're good.
If no, whatever you have any question, you can reach out to us by visiting APISIX and joining our newsletter or Slack, and you can find me here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for Phoenix Tech and also Club Native for Thank you so much.